I really wish I had played my cards differently when dealing with that label. I would have honestly, if I had known then what I know now, I would have never signed to them for anything, because I lost two really important people in my life out of paperwork, over paperwork. Yeah.
I played in a band with BJ. Matt played in a band with BJ, and Armine played in a separate band. And Armine had a dance studio in Havertown. He was doing shows, and I think it was like From a Second Story Window was playing. I just jokingly said something like, "Why don't the four of us start a band?" I was like, "It'll be interesting."
And I swear that Dave said we should start a joke grindcore band. And I was all about it.
Teamwork! Alone, we can do so little. Together, we can do so much! Teamwork!
That was the initial concept, and then a couple weeks after that, we got together, and we just were talking about music and things that we liked, and then started playing, and the exact opposite came out of what the initial idea was.
I met the other guys in Rosetta through Mike. We shared a practice space with Mike's band that he was in before Rosetta, Mikado. He comes in and tells me he just saw this band, which is basically Rosetta without Mike Armine. And Mike was just getting into bands like ISIS and Neurosis. Just real loud wall of noise, heavy riffs. And he wanted to do stuff more like that, and these guys were doing stuff in that genre. Less than a month later, he was in a band with those guys. Some bands that play that style of music have 6, 7 members. And, you know, they're basically 3 guys playing instruments and 1 guy doing electronic stuff. They had to be a little bit more economical with their sound and figure out how to have that vast sound they wanted.
Me and Armine, we were in bands that played together, and we struck up a friendship that revolved around playing shows. Translation Lost, at that point, I think we put out at least 5 or 6 records, and I felt like they were the band that we should be working with. I just was very, very gung-ho about it. Like, we had to work with Rosetta, and it was, there was no other option. Like, we just had to work with Rosetta.
I think Mike just gave us both demos, and maybe Drew listened to it first. It was like, oh yeah, we gotta do this. And I remember I was totally into it, but I didn't really care for Rosetta a whole lot when I first, it was kind of more of a Drew thing.
We signed Rosetta. I'm not sure that I remember the process of signing them. It was just the fact that Christian was on board, and he believed that I believed that this band was something special.
It was just a natural fit. You know, they were a label that was just getting started, and they were looking for bands, and Rosetta was a new band. They are definitely what I would call a working class band in the sense that they all have jobs. You know, when they tour, they have to accommodate their daily lives.
They're giving up their time to be with their families.
I mean, I've been emailing my parents, and like, they don't email me back. I don't.
Yeah, my mom did that to me.
Dude, my sister's not. I'm being really, really good about emailing everybody at home, and they're just not emailing me back. So I don't care, whatever.
It's not easy. It's not easy for any band.
All right, my people.
Didn't really think he was a teacher at all. Like freshman year, he just looks like a normal student. He's not overly big. He doesn't look too old. I mean, he just kind of resembles a student in a way.
Look, what you feel are the top 5 problems is your opinion.
He treats us like we're his intellectual equals as opposed to just teaching us straight up facts and having us memorize them.
I need you to construct a letter to your congressman outlining where the bill stands, who is poised to vote on it, and most importantly, what you think about it.
Like, we've talked about things that I would never talk about with other teachers just because I would be afraid of getting in trouble, or the class would just feel like the class would probably feel awkward.
Instead of this, what we could be doing is funneling more money into education.
I think Mr. Armine is Batman.
To any susceptible, I'm a teacher first. If I wanted to tour 9 months out of the year, it could be done. I don't want to. You know, the impact that I'm having, or I want to have on the world, is in this building, not out on tour.
Translation Lost is an independent record label, co-owned by 2 guys who just love music. The goal for Translation Lost, I think, was never to have a specific genre that we catered to. It was just to put out good music that both of us really liked.
I work for a manufacturing plant that manufactures different types of insulation. I would love to just do Translation Lost full-time. It's a love thing, not a thing that's gonna help me put my kids in college and put food on the table at night and stuff like that. Absolutely not.
Being in a band is very much like a marriage. You have to love them in a way that you set things up in advance and you just treat it like a relationship. It's not just 4 dudes hanging out.
One of the first tours we did, it was like sort of the test of like, well, will we survive touring with each other?
There was a string of about 7 shows that were bad. We got ripped off by a couple promoters.
You go and you play a show, and there's probably 35 people there, and all of those people paid to get into the show. But the guy at the door pulled the door, and he found out that, oh, wait, nobody actually came to see your band. They were all here to see the other band, so I'm not going to pay you anything.
There have been moments where we're faced with that decision. Do we cancel tour now and drive home? Or do we continue on to the next show and chance it being as shitty as the last 3?
Me and Brett from Music the Wall, I think we stayed up late drinking and then just like fell asleep in their van, which was parked next to a dumpster, and there were like flies all in the van all night because it was hot and we had to leave the windows down. I don't even remember where the dudes in my band slept. And early in the morning, the dudes in Opus Dei run down and they're like, the toilet's overflowing and there's water all over the place. It was a bad day, and the show, the show was terrible.
We were just like, look, we can go on to the next 3 shows and make it home, or we can just count our losses and drive home. And 3 of us we were like, we're gonna leave now. And Dave stayed and hung out. The 3 of us just went home.
It's just when there are many crises that form on tour, and then those things seem to always hit on the same night as you have an off night, and the club owner or the promoter is a jerk, and you're just like, man, I don't even know why I bother with this.
We were driving through Canada, and we were talking about religion and some troubles that he was having, like with faith, and he sort of admitted to me that he felt closer to God playing his guitar in Rosetta than he felt at church. If he's gonna equate playing in Rosetta to being at church, he must really find some sort of self-fulfillment in this.
In some respects, Rosetta might be the most selfish thing that I'm involved in. That being said, maybe there is nothing that is more pertinent to my spirituality than Rosetta, because Rosetta might be where the great bulk of my identity formation is happening now.
Music has been a conduit where I've tried to be of use to other people, at least as far as maybe bringing some hope to them, giving them something that they can listen to that stirs something in their heart that they wouldn't feel otherwise. Being like a positive presence in people's lives, even if you haven't ever met them in person.
Drew took a special interest in our band. He wanted to manage the band. I mean, he was really interjecting in areas that were honestly none of his business.
There's this band where I see limitless potential. And I'm pushing as hard as I can to help them produce amazing records, produce awareness.
He thought he was doing the best thing by giving us a piece of advice.
This band's amazing. Everyone needs to know about this band, and we need to get them out there. I need to get them bigger tours. I need to get them, like more press. I need to get them everywhere. I secured amazing press for them. I mean, like, they had a 2-page feature in Decibel magazine. There was a CMJ showcase that Rosetta played, and I brought the magazine in, and You know, I showed all the guys. I was like, you know, this, I mean, amazing coverage, 2-page spread for Rosetta. And like, Matt was like bummed. He was kind of bummed about it because he's like, like, I didn't think we want these photos used. I mean, like, I think that really helped to get them to where they are now. But maybe that wasn't what they wanted.
My name is Bryce McMurtrie, and I am everything.
Does BJ have hobbies? BJ doesn't have hobbies in the way that baby boomers would define hobbies. BJ does not distinguish between vocation and hobbies.
With his hands to his face, smelling,
Oh my God!
smelling the gloves.
They smell so good.
As far as I can tell, there's no difference in the intensity that BJ puts into making and editing video versus playing video games. BJ lives on the internet. Like he lives in the coming cyberpunk dystopia in a way that none of us do yet. And that's the thing, is like maybe you could spend time worrying about, is this affecting BJ negatively? But I don't think it works that way. I think that BJ might be affecting the internet negatively.
The court jester.
Yes.
Can you hear me through my beard?
BJ!
They respect the fact that I do what I do and I am who I am. And
BJ, do you want to sing the top part or the second part?
What you're going to hear about today is nothing short of a miracle. Life in 3 dimensions.
So it's a double disc. The first disc is all contemporary songs. And then the second disc is all soundscapes and noise. You could play them together at the same time. It was a landmark occasion and release for Translation Loss because it was the first release Rosetta put out, but also the first time that Translation Loss released a record of that magnitude.
When we put out the Galileo satellites, that was when things were at their best.
I can't think of anybody else who would have taken a dumb local band that had played 4 shows or something and say, hey, we'll put out your record. And then when that band plays a half dozen more shows and then comes back and says, hey, can we do a double disc that syncs up? Who in their right mind would say yes to something like that? Even the freedom that was afforded to us to work with better graphic artists, for example, than we might have been able to otherwise. I totally dorked out when I was, 20 years old, and Aaron Turner's gonna do the artwork for my band's first album that's a double disc. That's just crazy. That's crazy. Nobody gets to do that. That's great.
I grew up not knowing who my biological father was. And that has always been this really weird, haunting echo in my brain. Are you who you are because you were raised by your mother and her sisters and all your great aunts? Or are you the way that you are because it's genetic? Like, are you really your father's son? Because my mother has always been like, oh man, there's so much about you that's like your father. So much, you're so much like your father sometimes. You're stubborn, you're manipulative, you're a sweet talker. There's so much about you that reminds me of him, and you've never met him, which was so scary to her. I think I could have used him to help me get through that hump, because I wrote him in 2006, and he wrote me an email. It was basically like, hey, I'm glad you're well, but some doors are best kept shut, and we shouldn't open this particular relationship.
Somewhere in between all there's the split with Balboa.
We wanted to do a split with them because they had toured with us. They were really good friends. Drew was one of the founders of Translation Loss, and he played drums in Balboa. So there just were like so many deep connections with those guys.
3 songs from Balboa, 2 songs from Rosetta, and 1 collaboration track called Project Mercury, which was the title of the release as well.
We were sharing a practice space at the time, so it was easy to do a collaboration, just get together.
This was a cohesive piece of music that was created by all parties involved from start to finish.
So that was a really good experience for everybody that was involved with it. It was something where at the end of it, it really felt like it reflected the vision collectively of both bands rather than just a hodgepodge of different things. It felt integrated in a way that everybody was really into.
It really came together beautifully. It was cool.
And then Wake Lift is just a fucking monster of an album.
There, I thought the band really found their identity. I do think that their distinction is in the density of layers that they really operate in. I thought Rosetta really kind of found a good balance of both the extreme aggressive part of what they wanted to do and started really kind of separating that from the more ambient, atmospheric moments where they were very melodic.
The music is heavy and oppressive, and as heavy and oppressive as any band in that genre of music, but they're not a dark band.
That contrast between the dark and light was where I think they really hit their stride on that record.
I think it's really easy for a band to be dark. You know, you're a heavy band, you're a dark band. I mean, sometimes that goes hand in hand. The thing with Rosetta that I find engaging, they're not a dark band. They have a very kind of positive, uplifting vibe to their music.
The friendship waned the more the business side of things started to upset us.
If things got strained, it was just because I wanted the best for them that I could do for them.
It's a business. It is. It's something I love doing, but it's definitely a business.
So there's BJ, who's the drummer of Rosetta.
BJ is definitely very key in the way the songs flow and move and build.
He is an amazing core to that band.
I think BJ's drumming is spastic, almost jazzy. And it always sounds like everything is gonna just, they're like on the verge of losing it, and they don't. And I think like it builds a tension.
BJ's a busy drummer, but he's one of the few that can really hold it down and stay in the pocket. I think it adds a cool element to the mix. Gives some competition to Matt's guitar work.
His playing is so intense. It's probably the most enjoyable thing that you will see when you go see Rosetta play. He is, hands down, my favorite part of Rosetta. The relationship itself, I guess, wasn't the best that I wanted it to be, and that really sucked. But I think the best thing that came out of it was me kind of removing myself from that business aspect. And so Christian kind of, he stepped up. I think that he knew how close of friends me and Armine were, and he just kind of like, you know, he kind of created, or not, he didn't create, but he facilitated the business aspect between Translation Lost and Rosetta, and that was huge for me because it kind of helped me remove myself from the business aspect of the band. I just like wanted to love, wanted to, you know, just kind of hang out with.
I think Dave is an incredible musician.
He learns how to play bass when he starts to play in the band.
I think Dave didn't even own a bass at that time when we started. He was borrowing a bass from somebody.
Just from playing ability, I'm probably above average. I know better than that.
I don't trust him.
He will never give himself the credit that he deserves. That's something that I've learned about him. He won't do it.
I'm glad that he's not just like, I'm the best player ever, but I wish he at least wouldn't go the other way and be like, you know, I'm replaceable.
I mean, there's other aspects that go into a band, like songs and passion, like whether you connect with people, like you can't control that. Those other things, I think that I'm better at.
I don't think this band would survive with anything other than Dave on bass.
That was a big moment for Rosetta, I think, because it was the first time that Rosetta actually let someone else record them from start to finish. Being at Wakelift was a much more raw production, and I felt like it might be good to go in a different direction. I was really into this guy, Andrew Schneider from New York. He produced the Unsane record, which sounds amazing. He did Pelican.
We were under a time crunch during the sessions for Determinism, and part of that process was just finding our own limits personally around, like, it's such a crush, it's so intense, it's so relentless.
Not so afraid! You'll never hear!
Let's do it one more time. From the top. Remember what the pattern is you're doing. Try and see if you can get one that goes into the heavy part, and then we'll double it that way.
Okay. At the end of the day, being relieved that you're not also the person who's sitting behind the board in the control room. Being relieved of that responsibility and able to focus on the performances with somebody who's there to actually push you and coach you through it, and to say when enough is enough versus to say you need to do it again. It was a pretty intense period of time.
That's still, to this day, sort of my favorite Rosetta record.
That year, Rosetta had a pretty disastrous summer tour, lost an enormous amount of money. My wife and I had closed on a house, and the day that we moved into the house after the tour, I found out that my dad had cancer, and then 2 months later, I found out that my mom had cancer. That November was my sort of first Thanksgiving with dealing with the mortality of my parents. And in my mind, during that period, I just had so many other more important things going on in my life than writing songs for the next Rosetta album.
Like, I don't think the relationship was as good as it could have been, and it kind of broke my heart a little bit.
The stress of Rosetta and trying to get what we want while they try and get what they want has really kind of broken apart the bounds of friendship and replaced it with a business agreement. The contracts are stronger now than the bonds of friendship, and that's a bummer.
This is gonna be so interesting getting this out of here. Straighten it out. Ah, straight. Good, you're good. Ah, stop. Stop. Now it's touching. Just go up a little bit and try and straighten it out.
Hey, I got a solution. I'm deadly serious. Everyone out of the van, we're picking up this fucking car. Dude.
I can't believe that I'm in Russia right now. Final march of capitalism right here.
Flossing.
I care about oral hygiene.
all used to be really, really, really good friends with the people at Translations. Friends. We used to hang out, and tour together, and play shows together, and go to shows together. Drew Jurgens and I used to have these like sushi eating contests, like who could eat more. We don't do that anymore.
We had asked them for $1,000 to help us fix our van. And they said, sure, if you re-sign. We gotta fix the van, we gotta tour. You know, no one else is batting down the door. We certainly don't have money to put out a record on our own, so we might as well do this. Like, we fixed the van, and the money never came.
I do think that it's kind of a bummer to tell somebody that they're gonna get something and then not give it to them.
We didn't ask for that van thing in writing. I swore that we did. And I remember like looking for that. Translation loss agrees to pay Rosetta $1,000 help them fix her van. And that one day was like, dude, it's not in there.
And we were stuck in this contract. That was the straw that broke the camel's back.
It gradually got better. And I thought that was amazing because I didn't, you know, I mean, like, here's a band that was, this whole relationship was strictly based on love. It's like, I just love this band. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was trying to do what was best for everybody. You know, I tried to give TL what they wanted while giving my bandmates what they wanted, and I've learned the hard way that that's not possible.
I would hate to work with another label and have that be the same case. I'd much rather keep it in-house.
I'm gonna get this thing home and strip it for everything it's worth.
I actually haven't spoken to Mike in a little while. They have a new EP they're working on.
When they're done that EP, we'll put it out, and it'll be awesome. I guess it's technically the last release of the contract that we have. Hopefully in the future we can do more.
We've continuously gone back and done things for a decade plus. That means a lot to me. Kind of almost sneaks up on you, like, holy shit, we've been doing this with you guys for 10 years. I think they're the real deal, man. A lot of conviction behind what they're doing, and it's probably something they just feel like they have to do at this point, because they've been doing it for so long, and that's something to be, I respect that.
The decision to go independent was the right decision, not because Translation Lost was a bad, evil, inhospitable place for us to be, so much as that what we learned while we were on that label taught us that this is the right way to go.
We're gonna have 100% control over everything we do, and we're not that big. Bands like Radiohead and Nine Inch Nails do this, but for us to do it, I'm pretty excited to see the outcome.
Hello.
We are at Studio G in Brooklyn. It's quite nice, and it's air conditioned. I like air conditioning.
I feel like I'm at NASA headquarters with all this stuff.
Hey Matt, what would happen if I turn this knob? Don't touch anything.
I know.
I think the sound is going to be a departure from what people are used to in terms of a typical Rosetta record.
We wanted to have similarities to stuff we've done before, but we also want it to be really dirty, and we want it to be really heavy and thick and crushing.
I hate to be a pain. You can't give me any music to follow?
Embrace and share in a moment. Sweet wayfarer, sing its praise. I don't want to listen to this. Come and rest your woes, sweet wayfarer. To express. Come rest from burden's embrace.
Let me get water.
Quietly weeping. Allow me to express my ways. A creed of isolation. Silhouette.
The future of the band is writing on this record.
This like pretty much was the last time we could all invest personal money into it.
Not a rich man.
Because we've put 10 years into this. If we can't survive sustainably at this point, sadly, there's not a lot of reason to keep pumping time and energy into what is essentially a bona fide hobby that is extremely expensive.
If the album does not recoup, there is no money to tour or make more albums. And so it's just gonna be a long time where we don't do anything.
Being in a band stalls your life. You can't do this other stuff that life is calling you to do because you're touring, you're recording, you're playing shows, you're busy kind of sculpting this entity.
The only thing that's still in my life that was in my life when Rosetta started is God and my family. That's it.
I'm constantly broke because of the band. I constantly have no money because I'm always the guy like, oh, okay, we need $500. The van needs this repair. Like, all right, here it is. Here's t-shirt money. Oh, we didn't make it on tour. Like, no worries. Like, that's fucking crazy.
The unclear outcome has the greatest potential for generating conflict. An absolute disaster jeopardizes the continuing existence of the band, but does not jeopardize the creative and personal relationships among members of the band. The middling outcome is worse because it jeopardizes the relationships, because it could throw us into a situation where we're all fighting with each other all the time about whether we should keep going.
I would stick it out. I would, out of pure fucking lunacy, because I love it.
Good luck trying to do this slide. Play a fucking sample. Oh, is there a piano part written?
I just wrote one earlier, and now I have to go practice it because I can't play it properly yet for reprise.
If Rosetta calls it a day because we can't make money, I'm gonna take that personally. And then I've got to look at myself in the mirror and figure out, all right, well, what's next? What is it that you're gonna do next to be able to express how it is that you feel about things?
I'm glad we're done drums because my muscles are like ready to fall off of my body.
And the mastering got done 2 days before the album was supposed to be released. So the session started about 7 days before the release, and it took about 5 days to get it done, because I think we did 3.5 or 4 revisions on it. Tuesday of that week, I had to take the megabus to Boston, pick up the rental van for tour, turn around and drive back home.
I just watch the comments roll in, and people sort of post bummer comments.
I got home at 2:30 in the morning and released the album. And I did stay up for about 45 minutes after I posted it to see how it was doing. I guess I went to bed at maybe 3:15, and I got up at 6:30 or 7 to find out that PayPal had shut down our account because too much stuff had come in all at once, and they thought that we were engaged in fraud.
When I woke up on the 8th and saw that we had about 2/3 of our money in a period of 12 hours, I didn't really know what to think of it.
Success!
I was a little bit shocked. I was expecting the album to do pretty well in the first couple of days, not that well. I wanted the outcome to be clear in the financial business side of things. It was successful enough to let us know for certain this was the right decision to go this way. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. That's good enough for me.
Thank you.
the reviews. There's been some positive ones and lots of negative ones as well. I could really care less either way. You can't focus on those too much.
Did we make the album our fans wanted us to make? No. So by that measure, it was not successful.
They get to me. They really do. Like, they stand out, sadly, more than the people who are like, this is the best thing they've ever done, or this song is perfect.
Well, the record's a success, but the reason why it's a success is because it is 100% what we wanted to do.
There's good music and bad music, and I feel like this is good music. My emotions about it were very clear. When we first finished it, I was proud of it. What I said to my parents about it was, this is the best thing that I've ever been involved in, period.
Can you just take this?
Take that?
To your shirt?
Sure.
So
Cool.
we'll hide it actually,
We'll hide.
right there, wherever it's
Gotcha.
comfortable.
There we go. Yeah. Thank you.
We've talked about translation lots before, but let's rehash it if we can.
Sure. You know, I sat down to dinner with Drew one night, and we had it out, and it was awesome. And I really thought that at that moment, ideally we go back to being super good friends. And I've reached out to him a couple times to see if he wanted to go to a few shows, but he hasn't really been too receptive, and that sucks. But I understand why.